So 14 minutes in, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta introduce you guys to...
Actually 40. We're supposed to start at
this
10.
guy's trying to ditch that right now. But I have a very, very endearing friend. Oh yeah, that's a nice level.
You could tell by how much I drank, and I haven't even dipped into my
your coffee, yeah.
Look at this thing.
What?
Look how massive.
Oh my goodness.
This thing is. Look. This is post-COVID, right? Pre-COVID, my mug was like this big. Post-COVID, it has increased. And I need
about to go through both of them.
Yeah, I need every drip of it. But the MCT up in here.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So that
hopefully that'll do us good. But you guys are in for a good treat, I hope. I have a very dear friend from back in the day.
But yeah, we go back
in the day, man.
ISA,
yep. And Ali Altalib, he is one of the OGs. If you don't know him, you're missing out.
Bro, you can round up to 40 now in terms of our age.
Really?
Yeah. At least my age.
Like from what point?
I'm 35.
Bro, I'm 35 too.
So, yeah.
Oh, there's like actual OGs?
Yeah.
Like in our like community?
Yeah.
Like not uncle level OGs, but like
real OGs.
Yeah, like, cats that are like 45.
Yeah.
That were trying to do some good stuff.
Yeah,
kind of pave the way for us younger folks.
That's right.
Right?
When you think about it, and I was talking to Tor and Hamza about this yesterday, it was like the sleepovers and all those things that we did.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
everyone I speak to
masjid?
that I run into at the masjid, it's like that helped shape who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the lasting relationships.
Yeah.
Like in my world
mm-hmm.
that exists right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. The relationships that I have.
Yeah.
The majority of them were formed on the basis of masjid friendships.
Damn,
from
really
back in the day.
Wow.
Or some sort of some form of Islamic connection. I
would have to agree with you. I think majority of my relationships that have kind of remained and stayed strong or grew are because of either a spiritual bond, right? Like this, we've reflected together, right? We've talked about some just real stuff, right? Helping each other. We talked about it in terms of, we have this like halakha group, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about some real stuff, like all the dudes that come out there, right?
Yeah.
And it's I agree with you. I think because all those other relationships, they're just kind of frivolous. They don't last.
Yeah, just the basis of them was very temporary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm not saying we don't like, because I remember I had sleepovers at the masjid, right?
Yeah,
and at the time I was a kid, right? I was like, we're playing soccer in like the actual musalla area, right? And dude, this is when I was actually going to ISA too, right?
Yeah,
and and it was, I didn't think too much of it. I was like, okay, it's a sleepover, right? Cool, whatever. But there's something like intangible, right? For a kid to actually just hang out at the masjid, right? Because that's the house of Allah, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm not trying to be mystical, but I'm just saying like there's some sort of blessing there that you can't put a finger on.
Yeah.
Or can you?
Look, I was introduced to Biggie Smalls in the masjid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, word. Yeah.
That was that.
Ali's about to give us a.
I think I remember.
He's about to drop some rhymes soon.
No.
He's about to. He's thinking about it.
like I remember the Life After Death album that came out. It was like, and I remember at the sleepover, where me and like 2 other guys were just like listening to it, like vibing to it. Like it was just
dangerous.
Yeah. Not too many could bang with us, straight up. So it wasn't just masjid stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
like
it was like
religiosity,
life.
Right.
My first conversations about girls and stuff like that happened with people in the masjid. You know,
I think that's why a lot of people maybe kind of get it twisted, including myself. I think I'll be the first one to admit. I associated masjid with behaving, right? Like change yourself or like be different. When you're in the masjid, be different, right? But that's not, I think, traditionally, right? When I say traditionally, I'm talking about like Eastern cultures, right?
Yeah.
Bro, like masjid was like the happening spot, right?
It was like the culture
like
center.
Yeah.
It was like, it was, I mean, you go there to play sports, you go there to talk, poetry.
Right.
It was the hub.
Right. It wasn't just, hey, let me go here and pray namaz. Pray salah.
Yeah.
Right. It was
pray and dip.
Dip. Right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've moved kind of in the opposite direction at this point. But you mentioned something about the dichotomy of sort of like your life and who you are, and then like when you get into the masjid. But like growing up, I had that dichotomy everywhere, right? So like even home, and many people that grew up and probably are growing up now face the same thing, where you got you're like the Ali that is at school, and you know, with friends and stuff like that, and then you had the Ali that was at home / masjid, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up, you know, with
like
religious
two different identities.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Religious.
I mean, I grew up in a religious household, which, you know, now I appreciate. And it was unique in the way where it wasn't too cultural. It was actually religious. Like it was actually based off of Islamic principles.
Nice.
And not like, you know, just the culture stuff.
Like, what do you mean culture? So you're for folks don't know, you're from Iraq.
I'm from Iraq, yeah.
Right. You're Arab, right? So when you mean cultural, right? Because I'm sure you probably know, like there's the Desi component of cultural, right? So talk to me a little bit about what do you mean by cultural? There wasn't the cultural stuff, right? In someone who's from an Arab background, what does that mean?
Well, it means just sort of the like the invitations that you would have when you have people over, and like the customs and things that you would do, you know, to be hospitable and to do certain, just doing certain things that are not on the basis of the religion. So, I see. So there's a lot of contradictory things that we do culturally that are not that are not Islamic.
Oh, really?
Right. Even if you look at the wedding process, like when someone gets married, it's after you do the katb kitab, the nikah, that's it. You're Islamically married. Like you could live together, you could do whatever you want with your wife,
you're
right?
A married couple.
You're married. But culturally, you got to have the wedding.
Oh, right.
And after the wedding, depending on how long that takes, right? And then after the wedding is when you sort of live together.
Reception and all this wedding. Yeah.
So a lot of people go through like a lot of hardship waiting for that wedding, because the wedding, you know, in some cultures are just like you guys. I think you guys, 3 days or something like that to get married, and it's a massive like.
It's a hoopla. It's a
people
big
spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like that. You know, it's like a giant party.
Yeah,
you know.
So I mean, just imagine like having.
You've seen those DJs where they like just, you know, like just, and there's like giant like wave of like people.
Yeah.
Right. Like 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Like that's what it reminds, like Desi weddings.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that. It's just like, dude, you're just coming here to jam out, eat some food. for 3 days.
Yeah, it's
Like,
crazy, man.
and I'm not
crazy.
saying like I've been married before.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, it's nice. Like it's cool, you know, you're being hospitable.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, you're starting your life together. Like, don't spend $60,000 if you can't afford it.
Yeah. A down
And
payment
that's
on
just-
a house would be
yeah.
pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's the type of cultural norms that exist. Okay.
Yeah, so that's just one example.
Mm-hmm.
But so in my household, it was always the Islam part
Mm-hmm.
trumps the cultural part.
I like that.
Where-
I personally like that. I vibe with that.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love
Mm-hmm.
it now because when I hear people tell me about, oh, well, I have to do this and I have to do that, and I'm like, yo, you realize Islamically, you don't have to do all that.
Okay.
That's just
I see.
self-inflicted, cultural stuff.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of times that diverts us as people from where we need to go.
You know, I wanted to ask you, speaking of like cultural stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to actually talk about this ISA situation, if you don't mind, at some point. Right?
Oh,
like
gosh.
Today. But before I do that, you know, I consider myself half Arab.
Yeah.
But you know, just growing up in ISA.
I didn't even know you were Pakistani for a long time, for the longest time, until probably like Mason PSA stuff.
Yeah, Kashif Malik.
Kashif, I don't know what I thought you were. I didn't I never really analyzed it, but I don't think I ever recognized that you were not Arab.
I feel you. Well, I
You
appreciate that. I think that's.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it was just not one of those things.
Who's this dude? What is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say they can go hard on people that are
Yes,
not
sir.
Arab and,
Yes, sir.
and not Saudi. you know?
Boom. Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
I mean, man.
That's it was interesting. Wait, so I remember you went to ISA, right? But how
Okay.
long did you go to ISA for?
All right. So I went to ISA from
ISA, for those who you don't know, it used to be a private school, Arab Saudi school, local to here. It's called something else now, which I won't say because I'm not trying to,
yeah, we don't want to.
Hate
We don't
on
want
some-
to.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I guess they
Change
tried
of
their
administration.
best or something.
They changed their name.
Repositioning.
Yeah, change of management.
Yeah,
going out of business, soon sale.
it's the what's it? The oil. Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, ISA was tough for me. I went to ISA from first grade. I skipped second grade,
Yeah.
and then I was in third and fourth grade.
Okay.
And then I left,
Oh.
and then
Yeah,
I came back in ninth grade, which is when I remember.
Okay. Yeah.
you.
I was like, this guy looks familiar.
Yeah, so I came back at the end in like the middle of ninth grade, and then I rolled out. I was like,
see.
no, I
Okay.
can't. I
Yeah,
can't.
Yeah. Bro, honestly, it was for me. I look back at it as, every situation is different, but I think there's a lot of similarities that you may have experienced, I may have experienced, like bullying,
Yeah.
right? I definitely experienced a lot of bullying there, right? Because I was this brown guy, right? And but also, tiny little thing that like I never understood. Right?
Yeah.
I was like, what?
What was your nickname? Did you have a nickname?
I had a freaking nickname.
I had a nickname too.
My nickname was Catfish. I'm like, catfish.
Well,
because Kashif.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of, when Arabs pronounce my name, it's Kashif, right?
Yeah.
And that's cool. I dig it. I love it, right? But catfish sounds very similar to that. I'm like, catfish? What the hell? And then it didn't work out because it was like, I was going through puberty, right? I was growing a little stash, right? And I actually looked like, I got a little whisker
Yeah,
going.
you just kind of went right into it.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
And I think one little thing that I never understood why people were just like, I got a lot of like just hate of being poked fun at, right?
Yeah.
Of I guess the way I smelled, right? And I'm like, dude, I took a shower today.
Yeah.
I don't smell, all right?
Yeah.
Later, growing up, right? I figured out what the heck that was, dude.
What?
living in a Pakistani household, right? Like Mama Duke's cooking up that, goodness, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
that oil is in the air.
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
If you
that
spend
stuff sticks on you.
a half a second inside your house when you're leaving, forget about it. That joint is in your clothes, right?
Bro, that's so funny.
So
you
when I would go to school, they'd be like, onion dip, curry, onion dip. Where I'm like, dude, what the hell? That makes no sense, right? And I mean, I felt pretty offended, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I'm laughing
offensive.
now, looking back at it.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, oh, I get it. Now I get it. I understand now, right?
Just for your viewers, I'm in Kashif's home, and it smells very nice, and it smells like a home. Doesn't have any, curry smells or anything like that. So,
Yeah.
but it's funny you mentioned that because I had also a dichotomy of friends. So I'd hang out with my masjid friends, and then I'd hang out with my like high school friends who are non. So sometimes I'd hang out with I'd go and masjid friends, but not always masjidi.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, I feel you. Same.
So I'd go chill with my, I went to hang out at a Pakistani friend's house for maybe an hour.
Yeah.
And then I went and hung out with my black friends, at my black friend's house.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, did your mom cook something? So when you said that, I was like, yeah, man. It hits you when and there's some certain spices or something that maybe
it's in the air. It's in the air.
It's just in the air,
aromatic,
right? But it gets in your like clothes and stuff.
Yeah. You gotta have a proper hood ventilation, right? Like not the joint that just circulates the air back into the room.
It just keeps. Yeah,
it's gotta be external. Yeah. It's gotta go out of the building.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, dude. It was. I say it was very interesting. I think overall though, I like my experience from ISA, and here's why. My dad's intention from sending me there.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, I'm living in America. At the time, I was the only kid. He's like, I want my kid to get some religious, values, religious like upbringing, like normalcy, right? Learn about his deen, right? My dad was very hardworking, drove a cab for a living, right? He was out all day driving like 20 hours a day, right? And
Allah yarhamu.
I mean, so he worked his ass off, right? And so there was, we can talk about many things here, but what I want to focus on is my attraction to the deen, right? And I remember very first day of class, you remember how like the subjects were like structured. You took all the normal subjects, and then like you also took like Islamic and Arabic studies, right?
Yeah.
A lot of interesting professors there. But
did you have Ustad Iqbal?
No.
Okay, he was.
I had Ustad like Ustad Sakaji, Ustad.
He's the president of the new school.
Oh yeah, good for him.
I don't want. Yeah, let's not get into.
So speaking of him, right? No, like good things, right? So he was teaching. The first day of class was one of the periods was or blocks was Quran, right? It was Quranic. It was the day for Quran, right? Tomorrow would maybe be hadith Arabic or something, or Arabic, right? Imla and stuff like that, or fiqh, right? Qawaid, right? But it was oh man, qawaid, dude.
Al-i'rab.
Dude, I had this guy. I still remember this cat, right? It was Ustad Hajar, I think, and funny ass dude. I mean, funny in the sense that we would always like trigger him, right? And this one kid in our class. And the guy's like, hey, like make a sentence, right?
Yeah.
And this kid goes, Al gasoline jamil, right? Right? He's like, petroleum is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, are you stupid? Like, what's wrong with you, right? He threw the marker at him, right?
Bro, the incidents between teachers and students at ISA were crazy. Like, it was out of a movie.
Dude,
like,
I had a textbook thrown at me. Like a proper thick textbook.
Yeah.
Right? And I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't a bad kid. I
know.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I think I probably did say something smart, right?
Yeah.
And it just kind of triggered this guy.
Yeah.
And he just kind of like threw it at me. And what made it worse is that it didn't hit me, right?
Yeah.
I kind of like got my catfish like reflexes, right? and that just, he was just like, get out, right? I was like, oh God, great, right? But
No, so we were in class,
yeah,
and we had a sub, a guy by the name of Slick Rick was what we used to call him. And for some reason he got in a fight with one of the students.
oh man,
And we had a lejna, right? You remember the lejna? It's like the seniors who would basically patrol. If they see something, wrong or bad, they're supposed to, fix it.
I see. Okay.
So they're getting in a fight, and then the teacher, Slick Rick, tries to flip over the student
Oh no.
in his chair. So the student gets up and starts swinging.
Oh my God.
And then, this is in class.
That's
this
intense.
is like in class.
Yeah.
And then one of the Lejna guys outside saw it happening. He ran in. He pulled the teacher back.
Yeah.
And
Oh my
the
God.
student
Yeah.
was the son of some, ambassador or prince or something like that.
Yeah, one of the billion princes that exist there.
Yeah. And I think the student was like mouthing off to him or something like that. But then the Slick Rick got suspended. So the teacher got suspended, but nothing happened to the student.
Oh man.
And it's just like it was
Yeah.
regular occurrences like that,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
in ISA.
I remember. I mean, I definitely the victim of. I mean, there was, there's this like white privilege concept,
Yeah.
right? There's like white privilege.
Yeah.
There's Saudi privilege too, right? It's just like
Yeah, dude,
entitlement.
it's crazy.
right?
It's
Entitlement.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude. Anyways, the Stat Sakaji thing, right?
Yeah.
First day of class, Quran class, and I get called upon to. Lo and behold, right? This is like a thing out of a movie, right? I'm like, dude, do not call my name, right?
Yeah.
I do not know nothing. I don't know nothing, right? and fourth grade, like at that point, you were past ASL, which is like
Yeah.
Arabic as a second language.
Yeah.
So everything was in Arabic.
Yeah.
right? I didn't know jack. That was my first year.
Yeah.
All I hear is Kashif, right? And I'm like, that sounds like my name, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my heart's like in my throat. I'm like, oh God, right? He said something in Arabic, and I was just like, there's like a Quran in front of me. I'm like, one of the kids next to me, he's saying to start reading, right? Like out loud. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how to do that, right? And he turned the page for me. He's like, right there, like that right there, like start from here. And I just start bawling, right?
Oh,
like a little baby, right? And from that point, anytime I heard the Quran, and honestly, I gotta admit, there were some dope reciters in that school.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
There were some nice like teachers, and then even students
Yeah.
who can just really recite very nicely. Right?
Yeah.
And I like the melody of it, right? And it kind of drew me to that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I would definitely give credence to, if especially if your house matches what you're being taught,
Yeah.
right? In like the essence of it, right? Not like using it as a weapon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I look at my ISA experience overall as positive because of this little seed that was planted of the deen.
Yeah.
Right. And I think everything else was just like, if I were to send my kid there,
Yeah.
right, I would definitely be like, talk to me about your teachers. Talk to me about the types of students you have, right? Like, who monitors what, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys say something when someone's getting bullied, right? Like, I would ask those types of questions.
Yeah.
Right. Because I already know the content, the material is there, the curriculum is there.
Yeah, because the Saudis don't get in trouble and
Yeah.
everyone else does.
Yeah.
And it's very clear.
So was that like, did you experience any of that?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you're Arab?
Oh, yeah. I think that was...
Seriously?
Yeah, I think that was pretty inconsequential. Like, there's Saudi, and then there's everyone else.
Mm.
And
And
so
by
I
the
don't
way,
think it
like
mattered.
nothing against Saudis, right? Like I got
No, of
some
course
dope
not.
ass friends that are from Saudi, right? But the type of
They were just doing their thing. It wasn't... I mean, the Saudis had nothing to do with it. I mean, they were taking in the system that they were placed in. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't. And to their credit, I mean, you got to take advantage of whatever opportunities are given to you. So if you're given some slack to do what you got to do, then you take it, right? So I don't blame
Seize the
them.
moment, huh?
Yeah, I don't blame them. I mean, there were a couple instances or a couple people that were just like deliberately, you can't touch me, so I'm gonna say and do whatever I want. But they would target it at people that they knew they could, get
away with.
push around.
Okay.
And they won't get in trouble for it. So that, yeah, I definitely like that. That's wrong. Like, but I mean, for the most part, they're just messing around, man.
I mean, they're not. There's no personal, intent like to harm you. Like
no. It's, I mean,
it's not a vile intent.
Yeah,
it's just kids being kids.
Yeah, I mean,
to a certain degree.
To some. I mean, I was the older kids kind of took advantage of the younger kids in a lot of ways, and for me, I wasn't about it, and I was the type that would say something, and so and then if you say something to a senior, and
now I
get it.
Now I get it. Now I know why you left, came back, and left again. you were just thug, huh?
Bro, the term, my nickname. My nickname. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but
say whatever you want.
My nickname was Spick.
Whoa. Oh,
you said catfish.
Yeah.
My nickname was Spick.
Oh man.
To them,
really? Wow.
I looked Hispanic.
Yeah.
And obviously for everyone, that's derogatory.
It is derogatory.
For being Hispanic.
Yeah.
And so that was just what I was labeled. And I can't tell you, like Abid, right?
Oh my God.
The term Abid is slave. For those that don't know, and
I heard this so many times. I was just like, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
freak.
So we as Muslims, we're all considered slaves to Allah,
100%.
Abdullah, right?
Yes.
So we're all slaves, but it wasn't used in that term. It was used for black people. So when there's a black person, they say Abd, or they'll address him as Ya Abd.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was horrible. Like and the thing is, like, you never, because it's not happening to you, you don't really consider the ramifications of it. And the majority of my black friends at ISA were like, we were cool.
Yeah.
Like I was cool with every single, black guy in my class at ISA.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
same.
But I don't think we ever, I never, and if I could go back and do this, I would just have that conversation, be like, yo, man, why you let him say that to you, because, and then,
oh yeah,
and I would also,
I'll tell that to myself too.
Yeah.
Like, quit being a little bitch, like say something, right?
Yeah.
Or speak up, right? I wasn't like you.
Yeah.
I wasn't like you.
Yeah.
I was more like suppressed, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was personal, like at home. Right?
Yeah.
The way I was like raised. So there was this one time, this kid, Saudi kid, slapped me, right? Like, it was a hard slap too, right?
Yeah.
I didn't cry or anything, but hard slap. And I was like, why'd you do that?
Oh man.
But now I'm like, I'm a different guy now.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And I would tell my kid, I'd be like, dude, someone slaps you, speak up. Like, what the hell is your problem?
Yeah.
Right? And defend yourself.
Yeah.
Like, actually defend yourself.
That's right.
What are you, like, when someone hits you, you're just going to be like, please don't do that. That's not nice.
Yeah.
No, dude. Like, defend yourself.
Yeah. I mean, this environment that we're in right now.
Yeah.
You gotta be, you gotta have a backbone as a Muslim.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will get run over in any environment right now. So you gotta have a backbone as a Muslim. You gotta have strong beliefs, and you gotta understand where it's coming from. Like, it's not just oh, because I'm Muslim, I believe this. No, like, why do you believe it? You know, like, you got to understand that.
See. You're talking about even faith. Like,
faith and everything within that, right? Like, why do you believe homosexuality is wrong, right? And this is the culture and the society that we live in, is like
cancel culture.
You can't even say that I don't believe in this. You can't even say that I think this is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Because you will get just destroyed.
Yeah, you
right?
get canceled. Like, like that thing about Netflix, right?
Yeah,
the whole like child pornography or something like that, or whatever. And that's wrong. Right? Like, that is wrong. Whatever the content, I don't fully know or aware of it.
Yeah.
But I know that it exists.
Yeah.
And now, you know, I mean, there's different degrees of opinion, but I think that's the type of, like, okay, boycott this. Yeah. Boycott these people, right? Like, don't consume Netflix anymore, right? And I'm like, dude, Netflix has some pretty cool stuff on, like, Allah's creation.
Yeah.
And other things, right? It's just something to think about. We live in a cancel culture. If you speak up or if you say something about anything that is contrary to what is
popular belief. If you look at the story of Ibrahim and his relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, and I was thinking about this the other day. Like, if he was here in this society right now, what are the things that he would do? Like, his whole like the story of how he went about fighting idol worshiping and just organically challenging the idea or the societal norm of, you know, worshiping idols, and the fact that his father made the idol. So his father actually profited off the fact that there were idol worshipers. That he would go to the lengths of challenging that idea, even though, you know, it was benefiting him and his father and his family. And then at the same time, do it in such a way where, you know, like the whole story of the biggest idol, taking down all the other idols.
Yep.
And
he put an axe on his shoulder or something like that.
And he just destroyed them in terms of, you know, just logic, and he still got banished. So he was speaking the truth. Yeah. And he got banished from society for speaking the truth. And they had no argument. I mean, he had them in any way they could come back and say, no, well, you know, this is why idol worshiping is right and it's okay and this and that. I mean, he had them, but he still got banished, right? And you look at the leadership in history and the leaders and what they possess, and you look at the Muslim leaders like Malcolm X. Why were people so attracted to Malcolm? Like, he was strong. He was strong in his beliefs, and he didn't care. Like, he was just like, I will call you the devil, even though you have authority. And it's just like, that type of power is attractive, and people want to be part of that. But I don't see as much of that anymore. Like, people are so afraid to say what they believe or what they stand for, and you bring in religion in any conversation and people have this natural aversion to it. Yo,
100%. And it could be work related. It could be, I'll give you an example, right? Like, this is me. I had to learn this over the years, right? To basically grow a pair, right? And just stand up for your beliefs, right? There's one thing to be like, don't be a crazy, like, person who just wants to go against the system, right? Like, if you have a certain belief that you are strong in, it's okay to vocalize that stuff, right? Yeah. So, long story short, I started this job once upon a time, and I told my boss, I was like, on Fridays, I need like legit an hour and a half off, right? Because it's like I gotta go pray, right? Prayer service. Maybe max some days it might be 2 hours, right? She's like, yeah. And then, so I was like, but if you want me to take it during my lunch, I can eat, I can have my lunch.
Yeah, you start conceding before you even.
Before I even heard anything back, right? So I was like, you're always, it's always just like but because you don't want to get in trouble, you know.
That's the immigrant mentality. Okay, and this is a distinction I think we need to make as immigrants or the children of immigrants is that the reason we don't have a leg up in society is because we don't recognize the fact that most of us were raised by people who were in survival mode, right? Like our parents came fleeing war, just trying to make a place for themselves in society, build themselves up from the ground. Yeah. You know, my dad worked minimum wage for 7-8 years, you know, just sami'na wa ata'na, anything his boss says he does. Yeah. And so we were raised by that type of you know, just work hard and you know, hard work will get you anywhere and this and that. But why don't we have a leg up on like Mike and Joe and John? Sure. Right? Is because, like, you know, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The pinnacle of that is self-actualization. Okay? So, and the bottom of that pyramid is like the physiological, like just basic needs to eat and survive and safety and stuff like that. John and Joe and Jason have been raised by generations and generations of people who are trying to achieve self-actualization. So they look up to people, and they're being raised by people who, you know, their physiological needs are already met, and they pretty much have everything that they need. And so now, you know, you need to go further. And so, you know, they know when they're in an interview, they're like, yeah, I deserve this job. You know, I deserve this promotion. Even though you, as an immigrant, might be more skilled, more educated, right? You know, just have the capacity to just do so much more. Yeah. But you're like, thank you for giving me this job.
No, thank you.
Right. And
it's back to that example of the Jummah, right?
Yeah.
You know what my boss said?
What?
My boss kind of said something that was like, at the time, it was kind of empowering, right? She's like, you know what? You don't have to take it during your lunch. You can take it whenever you want and take your lunch. I was like, oh, wow. Right?
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
That was pretty empowering to me.
Yeah.
Right? And not just empowering like, oh, I get to also take my lunch and I could get to go to Jummah, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that I was just like, oh my God. I mean, my boss was a minority, right? So she kind of understood. Yeah. So maybe that's why she understood. She was like, yeah, dude, go do your shit, right? Like, go do what you want.
Take care of you.
Yeah, take care of you. Yeah. Right? And that's tough, man. It's tough. Like, it's, why do we always accommodate, right?
Always. Even in religious organizations and stuff like that I've been privy to, it's like, dude, we don't need to make a space for ourselves anymore. Like, we are here. So we need to act like we're here.
We out here.
We don't need to go kissing, you know, everybody's butt. Yeah. Like, hey, look at us. We're like, you know, we're good people. Yeah. We deserve. Yeah. No, man, this is our home. Yes. You know, you gonna come and tell me to go back to my country? Where is my country? I've been here since I was 5 years old. I don't even know what my country looks like. Yeah. So, you know, and that comes off, man. I mean, like, if people come to you and like, hey, man, you need to go back to your country. You need to stand up for that and like. Be like, okay, let's talk a little bit more about that because people don't understand. Like you know, John and Jason and you know,
Tom, Dick, and Harry,
Trump, MAGA hat person. They don't know. They only know what they see and what they've seen as just Fox News and stuff like that. Breitbart, right? So having that conversation with confidence that I belong here, bro, you know, like so my parents were vetted. Right. Extremely vetted before they got here.
But you haven't.
But you haven't. So, you know, actually, I probably belong here more than you.
Right. But you're saying that because you've got you got confidence, right? You're vocal, right? How does somebody who is maybe a little afraid, if they speak up, they might get into trouble with their work, or, you know, if they're oppressed, or if a Muslim lady who's wearing a hijab is like, gets told, hey, maybe, you know, You want to be a little bit more adjusting, like the corporate speak, right? Basically being told in other fancy words, take off your hijab, it's going to be better for you, right?
Yeah.
And how does someone build that confidence or respond that, hey, listen, no, maybe it's fear of losing their job.
You just need 15 seconds of confidence, man. That's it. And you need to recognize, this squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And so why do you think, they had this Karens, right? The Karens coming out, complaining about everything and getting what they want, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're getting what they want because they're speaking their mind, right? It's not easy to be confident. Some people are naturally confident. Some people are not, But recognizing and this goes back to Islam, right? This goes back to our Allah, creation, right? Okay? So intentionality, destiny, right? Okay, so you were born, you exist, you are standing here right now because you were chosen out of 250 million sperm cells to go. And through that journey, it takes like 8 to 10 hours to get to the fallopian tube. And then it has to come at precisely the right time to get fertilized by the egg.
Yeah.
And then, you go through 9 months of pregnancy where anything can go wrong.
Yeah.
Think about the medical advances and your great grandmother and great great grandmother and great great grandmother and how many people died, just being in the womb or even delivering.
I think there's a statistical chance it's 1 in some trillion that you exist.
It's more than that. It's it's really infinite. The fact that you just exist, before you're even born, just the fact that you exist is a miracle.
Yeah.
And then all the things that happened, like for me, I was born in Iraq in a time of war. I still remember going into the yard and finding bullets and stuff like that with my brother, that are just bullet shells that were just on the floor.
Yeah.
I remember our windows getting blown out, just from bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My grandfather and my uncle were living in America at the time. So this was 1990. By some miracle, my parents were able to get us a visa to come here to visit for 3 months. Okay? So miracle happened. We got here. We came to America. We were in the middle of our visit. And then the Gulf War pretty much started, right? And so in the middle of that visit, my dad had to make a choice. And my grandfather was pushing him to do that. He said, look, you can live in my basement for as long as you need to get your feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And, and you don't have to pay rent. You just got to save up to try to get your own place. And you don't have to go back to Iraq. And so they left everything, everything they've ever known. Their family, their father, my dad's father, my mom's jewelry, everything.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. And then the trajectory of that decision that my dad made on that night, just of our lives, our entire lives and our existence.
Sending chills down my spine, man. I swear. Oh my God.
It's really nuts, dude. So my dad made that decision. My grandfather filed for his, for our paperwork to become legal citizens and eventually green card holders and eventually U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
I went to kindergarten. So I was going to kindergarten as a fob who knew zero English.
Yeah.
My mom was learning the system.
Yeah.
We were living in my grandfather's basement. We, understood nothing. My dad got a minimum wage job, 18-hour days he'd work. He had to learn the language. He went to I think TOEFL or Nova, and then learn the language and stuff like that, and just to get indoctrinated, right? We lived in a basement, me and my 3 other siblings, and then my mom and dad, and it was basically one room like this, but they put up a wall so that my parents could have their own room.
Oh man!
And so me and my siblings were sleeping in the other room,
right?
But we were in a good school district, we were in a good area.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So I ended up going to the top school in Fairfax County. I was in elementary school and middle school. I ended up going to ISA for a little bit, came back, went to public school. But all those things had to happen, right? And then you think about everything else after that. and think about everything that happened in your life.
Yeah.
Right. To get to a point where you created a freaking podcast where you somehow got the crazy idea of having me on,
Right.
and everything else that led up to that,
Right.
for us to be sitting here in front of each other.
Right. That's
a miracle. Right?
not by chance.
That's intentionality. That's divine intervention. And think about if that doesn't, like, if the things
like
that
there's
happen,
no coincidence in that.
if the things that happen doesn't drive you like crazy of the significance of our existence and us sitting here today, think about the things that didn't happen to you. Think about all the things that Allah has diverted away from you.
That's hard to think
so
about.
that you would exist.
That's hard to think about for
It's
many
crazy.
people.
It's
right?
it's unfathomable. I mean, I can't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about confidence and think about, the people like having the courage to speak up and say something,
Yeah.
you beat odds that you can't even count just to exist and to be significant enough to stand in this particular moment in time.
Yeah.
And you're telling me you don't have the confidence to say, I don't like the way you're speaking to me, or I think that's wrong, or whatever it is. And then what are the consequences of that?
And I think also there's a lack of trust in Allah, right? Because hey, like you're not gonna speak up, right?
Yeah.
For something that like deep down in your soul, you believe,
Yep.
right? For example, you mentioned Ibrahim alayhi salam, right? Prophet Abraham. He was thrown into the fire,
Yeah.
right? Like my homie was thrown into the fire,
Yep.
bro. He was still speaking the truth, right?
Bardan wa salama.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then what happened? The same divine entity, Allah, who created a fire to burn,
Yep.
to actually like sear,
Yeah.
right, and to cook. He made it cool,
Yep.
and pleasing when he was thrown into the fire.
Yeah.
Look what tawakkul does.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're like, oh man, speaking up, maybe I'm about to get burned.
Yep.
Maybe I might lose my job, right? Or maybe I might lose some followers. Whatever, man.
Who cares?
Who cares, dude?
I mean, you exist right now. And it's, some people get scared by this idea because it makes everything feel so important. It makes every interaction that you have at the gas station pumping gas, some random person that you run into, something you say may spark a change in their entire lives. I mean, there's countless stories that where people have shared where I said one or two words to someone, and those two words changed the trajectory of their lives. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you have to believe in the significance of yourself and the significance of every single interaction you have. And that's, I think, what helps you build the confidence to know. I mean, just study your existence and why you're here.
And I think also maybe it's also like repetition.
Yeah.
Right?
You
Like
got to
that-
practice. Yeah.
You got to practice. Like, let's say you're some dude, I meet outside and, you say some words that you're like, hey, onion dip, right? Or something, right? Or, you're like, hey, go back to your country. Right?
Water bottle.
Water bottle. and I'm like, excuse me, mister, that's not nice to say, right? Or whatever. And maybe maybe you're more educated. Maybe you know how to speak better, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you just like basically trump me, right? In that debate, in that short moment in time.
Yeah.
For me, if I think all I'm trying to say is I think just try again. Because anything you do the first time is hard,
Yeah.
right? If you come across it the second time, it's a little easier,
Yep.
right? And I think the type of society that we're living in now, you gotta, whatever you deliver the first time,
Yeah.
it's got to be on point, right?
Yeah.
And if it's not, bruh, whatever, get out of here.
Yeah, because
You don't matter.
It's all curated. Doesn't. But I guess what I would say to that is, indoctrinated within our religion is this repetition, is practice, is the fact, like, why are we encouraged? أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. Why are we encouraged to make dhikr all the time? Because we are bombarded constantly with things that will divert our paths and that will either allow us to go in one direction or the other. And without the remembrance of Allah and our existence and our relation to Him, we're always in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes.
Like, no matter what, in every single interaction. 100%. So when you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is behind you in whatever decision that's made, you get in a car accident and you make dhikr. You remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know that there was significance in that car accident.
Yeah.
So now you're suddenly not freaking out about something. Or you're trying to get married, something happens, you prayed istikhara, and then, you're very hurt because she doesn't want you anymore, or whatever happened.
Right.
But then Allah's behind you, and behind that decision, you suddenly feel a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
Because He prevented you from something that could have been worse.
Yeah, and speaking of this interaction with Allah, right? Knowing that Allah is in your life. Allah is in full control of everything. And, oftentimes when we, because human beings, we want what we want, right? We want what we want, when we want it, right? Where we want it.
Yep.
And if that's in the form of dua, right? A lot of people get it twisted, bro, right? It's like, dude, it's okay if you didn't get it.
Yep.
Right. And there's all these sort of wisdoms as into actually making dua, but the type of immediacy that we have, right?
Yeah.
That it's like, well, I want this. I want this, right? And like, it's really interesting because like when you talk about like, I want this versus what Allah wants for you.
Yeah.
Right. Like plan.
Yep.
Like, there's that ayah, right? Allah, you plan and Allah plans, and Allah's the best of planners.
Yep.
Right. One of my teachers once said to me, it kind of, and I've shared this before on this show.
Yeah.
It's weird saying that. But he asked me, he's like, what is tawfiq? I'm like, what? He's like, what is tawfiq? He's like quizzing me. I'm like, blessing.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? Because when people say, hey, like if you're like, hey man, I'm about to film this podcast.
Yeah.
Right. And someone says, may Allah give you tawfiq.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know what that meant. Right. So he put it in a very interesting way. He's like, tawfiq is like it's an upside down Y, the letter Y. Right. It's like a line and then like this. Think of it like that. Here's your trajectory of your life, right? And here is what Allah has planned for you, okay? And here, you're like all over the place, right? You're just like, oh my God, like my life is shit.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's not going anywhere. You're always you're uneasy. Every day there's something else, right? There's this like, there's no sakina, right?
Yeah.
But that point, when it hits, he's like, that's tawfiq.
You take off.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like what? I'm like, okay, this sounds like a gem. Like, what is this, right?
Yeah.
He's like, when that point, that is where your plan is in line with Allah's plan.
SubhanAllah, yeah.
Right? Not Allah's plan in line with your plan.
Yeah.
Because this side is always what Allah had for you.
Yeah.
You were just not like cognizant enough that, because you're always trying to, like, it's like magnets, right?
Yeah.
The opposite side. It's just like you're always repelling.
Yeah.
Right? But then once you get it in your head, like, what does Allah want from me? Right? And it's not like, listen, we don't get revelation, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, oh, this is what it means. This is what this sign means, right? Like, I think intention, like sincere intention.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, well, like you said, if it's a marriage or if it's a job or if it's a whatever, getting into school, if it doesn't work out and you did your due diligence, you got to think in your head, This is not what Allah wants for me.
Well, and you have to believe that Allah's plan is perfect.
Yes.
It's perfection, right? There's a couple ayahs in Surah Al-Mulk where Allah is asking us to challenge me. Look up at the sky.
Yeah.
Do you find any incongruence in the sky? And then he says, look up again. He's saying look up again.
Like, hold on. No, like really, like look up again.
He says your eyes will get fatigued trying to find incongruence in Allah's masterpiece and creation. But you know what's beautiful about that is, we as humans, the construct of perfection is, it's once. Like, you can only achieve one, like, perfect thing. Once you change that thing, it becomes imperfect. I mean, that's the definition of perfection. It can only be perfect in one state.
Subhanallah.
But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, look up at the sky. It's perfect. There is no incongruence in it. And look up again. See, it's changed, but it's still perfect.
Wow. Oh my
So
goodness.
that is mind-blowing because there is nothing that exists that can create perfection in something that is fluid and changing. And so our lives and our existence are always fluid and changing. But it's perfect in the sense that it's managed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Subhanallah.
And everything in creation.
Yeah.
So when you're talking and you're saying it's like, reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stuff like that, you have to believe in that perfection. Because look around you, we will get lost. Did you know Trump got nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize?
Really?
Dude, I saw that the other day. I was like, what is going on in this world? Like, it's crazy.
That's yeah.
So when things are crazy, I find comfort in just the absoluteness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. It's absolute. It's so clear. There is no, it's just, you know where the absolute is and you know what you put your faith and belief in. And that's it. Because things right now in this society, in this world, are so convoluted, purposely, social engineering and whatnot, purposely everything is so convoluted.
Oh, yeah.
So there is no clarity. Everyone's confused. They don't know. You almost have to, okay, so I believe in certain things that Republicans believe. I believe in certain things that Democrats believe, but I know the Republicans hate Muslims, so I'm going to be Democrat. But then now, because I'm Democrat, I have to believe in everything that the Democrats believe in.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And it's like, and then you just end up in this cycle of like, trying to justify why you're, a Democrat or whatever it is.
So hold on, let me ask you something on that point. In this culture today, if someone is a Muslim out there, right, is living in this convoluted system, all right, and is confused AF, right, and confused about not Muslim things, like Republican, Democrat, okay, what's my identity, blah blah blah, and on top of that, they don't have a good opinion of Allah, right? How, what would you tell that person?
If they don't have a good opinion of Allah, or just religion as a
or even religion?
Okay, so I would say
because
religion,
they're pretty messed up already.
Yeah,
right.
But so this is the beauty and the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and religion. When people have this aversion to religion because they see it as a construct that sort of handicaps your freedom. That doesn't allow you to be free and just be free. We live in a consumeristic society where everything is you're just bombarded by things to consume and to buy, and it's infinite. So
there was a study done once. There's psychologists that curate music that you listen to in the grocery store to help you buy more.
Yeah.
It's not
Everything.
just, oh, let me just put on some radio. No, it's actually designed for you to purchase more.
It's nuts, dude. The entire educational system is based off of that. Every construct, our work, our schedules, everything is based off of the fact that we have to consume. Now, if you're in an environment, and there was a study, my Hamza was telling me yesterday, there's a study that they did, and they've been doing it for like 20 years, where they put like rats in an environment where they have everything they need.
Okay.
And they don't have to worry about getting food or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they just watch them for a while. And because they are not, and obviously there's a lot of variables at play, but the fact is that they had everything they need, and they ended up, stopping, procreation. They ended up, there was homosexual tendencies between the rats and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Heck? So, when you think,
that sounds awfully familiar.
It's nuts, right?
It's a rat race for sure.
The rat race of life, the fast pace of strife, got me thinking thrice on the purpose of life. We want to live nice with the cars and the ice, but when things ain't right, we start to lose sight. The blessings of life fade in the night, and our mind takes flight with the stars' twilight. Wish I had this, gotta have that. The rest of the world is living off scraps. Anyway, but so the point I was trying to...
Wow. I need to soak that in. I'm going to rewind that. I'm going to listen to that on repeat later.
Yeah, that hasn't come out yet. So that's fresh content right there, baby.
Sneak peek.
So when you ask the question, believing in the construct of religion actually frees you, because we are trained and guided, because we can... Allah has given us a lot of things that we need, but Allah also trains us to say no. Right? Just because you have some leftover, cake or ice cream doesn't mean you have to eat it, or you should eat it. You have to know when to say no. So Islam frees you from the society that is pushing you to consume, because it gives you the skills to say, you know what? I don't want to consume this.
No, dude. Yeah, this is bad for me. I'm not going to eat this delicious mango mousse cake that's left over, because I already had enough.
Exactly. So you know when to say no.
Yeah.
Right? Dude, this IG thing, my wife, made me do it because I started doing like music and stuff.
Yeah.
I was searching Meta Muslim. I was trying to search you to see the content that you had for this podcast, so I can see what it's like.
Sure.
Bro, if I show you, like, I hit search and all I see, I never saw this before. It's just like women in like yoga pants, bent over, doing like just crazy.
Yeah.
I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, I can't do it. So now
it's pretty intense. I
can't even search in my IG, because I know that it's like, it's curated for me to click on those things as a man, 35-year-old man or whatever.
Yep.
Because I showed my wife yesterday. I was like, look at this craziness, right? I was like, hit search. She looks at it. She's like, oh, that looks very different than what I have in my search thing.
Wow.
And it's not like I have, like, I'm signed up to, like, I have a couple of fitness friends that are into fitness or whatever. Yeah. But it's not like I'm a heavy fitness dude, right? Yeah. I mean, you could tell by my figure.
You're a buff guy.
Right? So, it's like they are pushing this content that is very difficult for someone who is attracted to, that type of thing, to say, no, I will not click on this thing. So now I can't hit search in my Instagram.
That's, dude, oh my God.
So I would say to those people is that religion trains you to say no, because you are being consumed by society.
I see.
They're just pushing you to consumption. And
what about having a good opinion of Allah, like, in that process?
Well, if Allah didn't care about you, why would He train you to deal with this type of nonsense? Allah loves us. I mean, He would not try to, misguide us. I mean, who's trying to misguide us? Like, look at our society right now, and the way that the everything is guided. You heard the term WIFM?
No.
WIFM.
WIFM?
WIFM. What's in it for me?
Oh, what's in it for me?
Everything in this society, whether it's politics, whether it's corporations, whether it's business, everything is guided by this sort of concept of what's in it for me. You know, you look at the bottom line, right? Everything's about the bottom line and the business case you know, maximizing shareholder wealth and stuff like that in corporate America. I mean, that's what it is. That's what it's all about.
Of course.
So when you look at that and you recognize that at the expense of whatever, you have to get to the bottom line. And it's all about how do you maximize shareholder wealth. Islam is the opposite of that. Islam is wifu, you know, what's in it for us, right?
Subhanallah. Yeah.
And so when you look at the society that the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when they migrated to Medina, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is a genius, man. When he migrated to Medina, it was called Yathrib, right? Yep. And so the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam established this immediately established this concept of ta'akhi, which is basically the brotherhood.
Right? We need to bring that joint back,
bro. So there's a natural feeling of superiority to someone who is indigenous to a particular place. Like I'm better than you because I was born here and you immigrated here. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But what he did is he made every immigrant from Mecca pair up with someone from Medina. Yep. Genius. Because that made them understand each other. And that allowed them that dissipated this concept of superiority because they had skin in the game for their, you know, brother to succeed. Now, what else did he do? He established a moral compass in society where he would encourage competition based off of morality.
Moral GPS.
Exactly. Yep. A moral GPS where he would ask...
Moral Google Maps.
He would ask in public, like, who donated to the poor today? And Abu Bakr would raise his hand. Who donated to the sick today? Who donated to the poor? Who visited the sick? Who did this? Who did that? So they were competing based off of morality.
Oh, wow.
And not only that, and if you're a business guy or a marketing guy, he changed the name. He changed the name from Yathrib to Medina. Why did he do that? And if you're a marketing guy, you know that because there is this intangible newness in something that is repositioned. It's called repositioning. Right? And actually, whoever said Yathrib after it was changed to Medina would have to make istighfar.
Oh, wow, really?
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
So he made it so that everyone recognizes this is something new. I'm not going to bring in my Jahiliyyah mentality into the newness of this organic, beautiful thing.
Subhanallah. You know, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And so look at so contrast that with the society we're living in. Someone was saying Bezos has like the GDP of like 5 different countries or something like that. There's some
he has the GDP of Earth.
Something crazy, right? Yeah. And that, like, you know, like there's people that work for him that are starving, like on like poverty, you know? Oh my God. But this concept of capitalism, Islam is not against capitalism, right? But it is about making sure that everybody is taken care of, right?
100%.
My grandfather in Iraq, they were all merchants. So when they have a shop, and when they would sell out, they would close the doors, but they wouldn't go home.
Okay.
They would sit in front of the shop so that when customers come to them, they would say, I've met my quota, but my neighbor has not. So you can go to my neighbor.
Are you serious?
Yes. Wow. This was business. This was how you did business back then. He could have went home. They could have went home.
That's intense.
Went to sleep. But no, they'd close up shop. They'd sit in front of their shop until the day ends. And every person that would come to them, they would divert them because they understood the concept of rizq. They understood the concept of taking care of your neighbor.
Wow.
That's not the society we're living in today.
They weren't like, hey, I'm sold out, but come back tomorrow.
Yeah. or like, yeah, you don't want to buy from him because his stuff is not as good as mine. They'd be like, he has the same stuff, go buy from him. So we're not trained in this society to look out for others. We're trained to look out for ourselves.
Right.
And I don't trust myself looking out for myself. I trust Allah looking out for me.
Subhanallah.
Because He is my creator. He's my manufacturer. So for someone that obviously it takes a lot of thinking to get to a point like that, but I would just encourage people to just think about their existence and why they have this adversity towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
And why does that exist? Like just think about it a little bit.
Think
more.
about it. Think deeply about it. Yeah. Because those things, I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only wants good for you, right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I think there's many times in the Quran that Allah says, like, we're not gonna change your condition unless you change yourself.
Exactly.
Right. And then also the whole concept of what your own hands have wrought.
Yeah.
Right. Like Allah didn't do this. Right.
Yeah.
Like
you did it.
You did it.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people, there's just like, there's a lot of things that you can talk about. I mean, like one little small example is, if God is good, why are there poor people in the world?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm I had that question too. I'm like,
why is there war, famine?
Yeah, disease, right?
Yeah.
And like that makes sense, right?
Yep.
But then when you think about it, it's like, or forget that, or like let's just get down to the individual level. Right?
Yeah.
If someone is going through some tough times, right, with a relationship, a spouse, like really tough times, right?
Yeah.
Fighting, parents, siblings, right? Basically, shit hit the fan, okay? And then like coming back to the whole idea of this is Allah wants good for you, right? So you're being put in a situation that you need to either wake up, right, or Allah's like, hey, this is not the right thing for you, right? Like you need to actually wake up. Hello, right? And the whole idea of like actually, subhanallah, man, it's your own hands have wrought, right? Like Allah doesn't want bad for you. I think that's so crazy, right?
Yeah.
With this whole idea of, my life is shit, right? And or I'm going through a very tough time. God doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, the poverty exists. These things happen sometimes. Maybe because it's of your own doing, bro. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Like
And sometimes because God loves you, because you can't handle being rich, because you don't know that you can't handle being rich, or you don't know that you can't handle being healthy, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, why do we read Surah Al-Kahf every Friday? With that last story of Musa and Sayyidina Khidr.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
It's so that we understand that we don't understand.
Right.
Like the whole point of it is to recognize our flawed in like we try to appropriate our constrictions and restrictions to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's unrestricted, right? So we don't understand.
Tendency to put things in a box, like categorized.
That's
and
right.
I think even with maybe a God, right? Like Allah, like this is how God is.
Yeah,
like dude, think outside the box.
Yeah, I mean, so all we have to understand is that we don't understand. So, but going back to your question is, I would say find out what it is that triggered your aversion to Allah or religion. And I could guarantee you it's something someone did or said. It's never something that just, like happened, where you were just sitting in the comfort of your home and you were like, you know what? I don't like God, right? It's usually something someone did to you, the environment or the experience you lived in. Something happened that was like, if God really loved me, he wouldn't do this to me. Well, do you know what God didn't do to you? Like, do you know what you would have been otherwise?
Like, do you know what it means to not exist?
Yeah, exactly. So,
and I'm not talking about death.
Yeah.
Like not existing.
Yeah.
Like is different than death. Right?
It is. Yeah. It's just like you don't cease
exist
to exist. Like there is no. SubhanAllah, man, it's crazy to think about. It really is. It's like
you just don't exist. You don't have the blessing to like the enjoyment. Of course, there's some enjoy. You find pleasure in maybe looking at scenery, like at the ocean, right, or whatever. Like that's a nice little, feels nice. Those waves, those the winds, the beach, the nice water. It feels nice, right? That's imagine you never felt that ever.
Yeah.
You know, didn't breathe.
Just
didn't exist.
Yeah, just have an experience.
Subhanallah.
And you know, like this whole dichotomy and polarization of our society is really it's really pretty crazy to me, because you know, and especially in social media, you talked about cancel culture and call out culture and all that stuff.
Right.
You know, we weren't meant to just spew our thoughts on, you know, social media or whatever. Like that wasn't our society was built and based off of us getting to know each other, right? So we are
لِتَعَارَفُوا.
I mean, we were born with differences, but we need to approach things with a curious mindset. We need to, you know, you don't need to just be disrespectful to someone because they're a Trump supporter or whatever. Like, it's not needed. Like, you can sit down and actually have a conversation with that person to understand where they're coming from, right?
Yep.
And that's gone. Like, if you look, even like if you know, someone posts something, someone says something ignorant, and then a bunch of people are like, hey, go home. You don't know what you're talking about. You're an idiot.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, I saw this thing. Some guy just converted to Islam, and he had a tattoo of Allah on his neck.
Oh.
And he was like, you know, I converted to Islam, and everyone was just crapping on him.
What? Because he got a tattoo?
Because he got a tattoo, like, you know, that's against Islam and like stuff like that. And you just, you know, calling people out, just punching them to the ground.
Yeah.
That's not our fitrah. That's not what we're meant to do.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'll do it. I don't care. I got a tat.
You got a tat?
I have a tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And definitely got it at a time where just I wasn't really sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. Right. Got a big old tattoo.
Nice.
All right. And you know, and I did it for myself.
Yeah.
I didn't do it for other people. Right. And it in a way I got it inverted. Right. Like it's on my chest. Right.
Okay.
It's inverted. So if you look at it, you have no idea. It looks like a mathematical formula, right?
Oh, okay. But if you look at it,
if I look at it in the mirror,
yeah,
it reads right.
Oh,
right?
that's pretty cool.
But that was only for me, right? I put a little bit of thought into it, right?
Yeah.
When I got it, and I was just like, it doesn't have like Allah or you know whatever, or like any Arabic letters. It's crazy. I justified it in my head to get it, right? I kind of sort of knew that maybe I shouldn't do this. I didn't know the actual source, right? And real talk, in my mind, I was like, I don't want to look at the source.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't want to look at it because I know what I might find there.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm going to kind of finagle around, right? And finesse the system, right? And I'm going to get it anyways, right? So in that process, I was like, I'm not going to have Arabic letters, right? I'm not going to have religious letters, right? Or words, right? And it's just going to look like it's nothing. It's just like a mathematical formula, right?
Yeah.
I chose this like different funky font, right? And, you know, yeah, I mean, it was, am I like, oh, hey man, got that, right? Like, no, I don't show off, right? Now, dude, it's so crazy. I'll be in the bathroom, like in the mirror. I don't look at it.
Yeah.
Bro, it's like right here.
Thug life.
Catfish. But like, you know, it's smack dab right here.
Yeah.
But like, imagine like looking in the mirror. It's right here.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're standing in the mirror, like the image in the mirror is actually like the same distance away inside the mirror.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Right? So if you're standing 2 feet away from a mirror, that image is 2 feet inside the mirror.
Yeah.
Right? So it's right there. It's not like, oh, like, you know, you can avoid it. It's right there. And like probably 99% of the time I go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
I don't look at it.
It's like when you gain a bunch of weight and you're like, I don't want to look at myself. Just like look at your face.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Like that COVID-19.
Yeah, that COVID-19 weight.
The 19 pounds, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. And I'm not proud of it.
Yeah.
But at the same token, I know that was a part of my life where, you know, I was going through some times.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't want to, I thought about taking it off, like getting it lasered off and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, but then I was like, you know what? I made istighfar, right?
Yeah.
I came across this hadith, right? And, you know, just learning, just like through the process, right? Learning through the process. And at one point, I was just like, man, our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like when he said something, you know, he didn't speak when just frivolously.
Yeah.
You know,
there was intention behind it.
He's like the best of messengers, and this is like the process that I'm talking about. Like, learning about Islam, learning about who I am, right? Like, what's my role here? What am I doing, right? Like, what's my opinion of God? Who is God? Who's Allah?
Yeah.
Who's God, right? Is there a purpose of existence?
Yeah.
Right? And just learning. At one point, I personally came to this conclusion, and then when I read that hadith about, you know, just not harming your body and, you know, not changing it, right?
Yeah.
And it, because it's a divine creation.
Yeah.
And you should respect it and stuff like that. I was like, man. And I was developing this like affinity towards our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right?
Yeah.
And I just had this wave hit me, right? I was just like, man, I should just listen to him. You know,
I should just listen to him. I
just listened to him, and I started bawling. Right?
Oh wow!
I was like I actually mentally, I told you, justified not looking at any sort of content.
Yeah. That
would tell me, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
And then when I developed that affinity, I was like, man, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't listen to you.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I mean, go back to your point about like being courteous to people. Like, hello, like that's okay.
Yeah.
It's nice to be courteous to people.
Yep.
You don't have to be mean to people. You know? Whether they have a tad, whether they just converted, whether it's whatever type of support or whatever cause that you disagree with, maybe. It's okay to be nice and courteous.
It's okay to just try to be curious, right? Just understand. Just try to like I don't know, like view everyone as an alien, that just completely new person that you don't have any sort of biases towards. It's impossible because you always have this unconscious bias. But I find that in every experience, and when you think about the intentionality of the way Allah puts things together and how you were meant to be next to, like sitting next to that particular person in that flight or in the train, or you know, meeting them at the gas station or whatever, like when you realize the significance of every moment, you try to make the best of it because you know Allah put you in that moment for a reason, right?
Yes, most definitely.
So that's why, like, I mean, it is hard to think about because you think about all the time we waste just like, you know, watching TV or just chilling. Like, you know the hadith of like Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when he said, take advantage of 4 before you lose them.
5.
Or is it 5? Yeah,
I think it's 5.
4 or 5.
Health before like you get sick, time before you get busy.
Exactly.
Youth before old age. And some other things.
What was the other one? Youth before old age and wealth before
you get poor.
Poor.
Yeah.
And
life before death.
Life before death. I mean, that is so real, bro. Like the time, like think about the time
you want wasted. A motivational little snippet? That's it right there.
That's it, dude. How much time did we waste? Like when we were just chilling, like, you know, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18, 19, 20. It's like, man, now, bro, my kids last night, they woke me up 3 times, you know, in the middle of the night. every time I stay up late, it's at the expense of them waking me up in the morning. Like I realize that. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I don't have time, man. I don't have time for much of anything. I barely have time to just sit down and think.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
So time, health. Dude, I used to be able to, just run, play soccer every day. Like I would never feel sore. I would never, it was just like, now I'm like, man, I wish I would have played more sports or done this or done that. And then, obviously like you get sick, any moment, any of us could, be diagnosed with something that just like changes our lives completely.
Yeah.
So
and sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there's a divine wisdom for anything.
Yeah.
Right. You could walk out of here and like, God forbid,
not make it home.
Or you may get a flat tire.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, you mentioned this earlier, that you don't think of things that didn't happen to you. Right. Just because something did happen to you, in that moment, you're freaking, negative Nancy out here. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I got a frat, right?
Yeah, man.
And it's like, did you not think that maybe Allah in his divine wisdom poked a little hole in your tire, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't get in that major accident
Yep.
on the same path.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to think of it that way.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're so unthankful, man. It's just like when you just consider like just the things that Allah gave us, like eyesight, and you only think about it when someone loses it. Someone else loses it, and you're like, oh, man, thank God I have it.
SubhanAllah.
My grandma has dementia, like just memory, being able to remember, right?
Yeah. Do you know I'm half blind in this eye?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. So you know that
Bro, quick story.
Yeah.
And we can wrap up a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is a few years back, okay? I was working at this like clinic, okay? Wrapping up, right? Closing the door, closing up shop, right? Everybody had left for the day. And we had another suite down the hall. Go over to that. So I locked the door, right? And all of a sudden, like, I was like, what? Like sometimes like something gets in your eye.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the heck? All right, let me like just take this out, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that sensation. No pain, no nothing, right? And then I was like, wait, hold on. What's going on, right? It's not itchy, anything like. And then I went like this, right? And it was pitch dark.
Oh my God, that's
right?
so scary, man.
Pitch dark. I'm not talking
I'll
blurry.
freak out.
I'm not talking about blurry.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like this color right here. This
Yeah.
color.
Wow.
Right? And I was like, okay. Like I was really nervous, right? I was like, oh my God, what the heck is happening?
Yeah.
Right? So I go down the hall to the other suite. There were some employees over there. And one of the doctors, he was kind of on his way out. And I was like stressed, right? This is like in like a matter of like a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like this, right? I'm just kind of head down. And he's like, hey, Kashif, like, what's up? And I look at him and he did this little thing, right? And I could obviously tell, right? Because I could still see out of this eye. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't see out of my left eye, right?
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, okay. He's like, if this continues for the next, he's like, when did this happen? I was like, literally 2 minutes ago. I just walked down the hall and I'm sitting here. He's like, if this continues, go to the ER, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cool. So I, grabbed my stuff from the other office suite and like I actually went back to down the hall, right, to the other suite, unlocked it, went inside, and it was actually like getting close to like Maghrib time, right? So I went in the bathroom, right, and to make wudu, right, and I'm I'm like avoiding looking at my eye, right,
Yeah.
and I'm like washing my hands, right, and I get to my face, right, go like this, and I look up, right. Obviously, the only thing that I can see, right, I can't see out of this eye.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Right? Because like this, it was black, and when I look up, right, and by the way, you can only like right now I'm looking at your left eye,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's where I'm looking.
Wow.
Now I'm looking at your right eye.
Yeah.
I can't look at both of your eyes at the same time.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So when I look up, I look at the eye that naturally has vision, right?
Yeah.
That has light coming in.
Yeah.
So I look at that eye, right? I use my right eye to look at my right eye.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Then I use my right eye to look at my left eye.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, my left eye is like wandering off.
What?
Yeah. It's literally like looking like this whole circle is like,
oh
like
my God, yo. I would freak out.
That's when I was just like, oh my God, right?
Something is wrong.
Something's up, right? And so, Wallah al-Azim, I swear to God, right? This is not by chance. It's not by chance. Some people told me some other things. I'll tell you. Maghrib time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I gotta pray Maghrib.
Yeah.
Right?
Either way, you got it.
I'm not like, oh, let me pray Maghrib so my eyesight can come back.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's part of your life.
It's part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? It's time for Maghrib. Let me just pray Maghrib. And I prayed Maghrib. And I go down into sujood, first rak'ah, right? First unit. And I do the 2 sujood.
Mm-hmm.
I come back up.
Yeah.
Right? And something starts to happen in my eye. Right? And it's just like, it's like it starts to, like, everything that I'm like concentrating on, there's like a little area rug, it had a little design, right? And it was like shimmering, right? It was like,
wow,
like nice. It looked really nice, right? Like shimmering, right? And because it was pitch black, right? But now, like, it started to shimmer, right? Mm-hmm. I'm like, whoa, this looks like really cool, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to concentrate in my salah too, right?
Yeah. Khushu'.
Yeah, khushu', right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is happening, right? But I follow through whatever. At the end of it, I basically got half of my vision back.
Subhanallah.
Right? And the lower half is not there, right?
Subhanallah.
And like if I look straight, at you right now, I can't see anything below like your height here. I can't see your hands. Like, you can do whatever with your hands. I can't see it. I can't. I know you're doing some funky stuff, but so the moral of that story is I actually called an ophthalmologist friend, right? Yeah. I was like, dude, this is what happened. Explained the whole thing to him. He's like, don't go to the ER, right? I'm like, what? Yeah. You're a doctor. Should I go to the ER? He's like, dude, trust me. I've read a lot of stuff about this. This happens. The only solution to this right now, if you really want to get it resolved right now, this very moment, is for you to get on an electrocution chair.
What?
Yeah. It's like to zap your entire body of whatever's happening, right? Basically, there's a tiny, very tiny little clot. Right? That, boop, like just got stuck there.
Oh my God.
So when there's no blood flow. Yeah. Right? There's no blood flow in the eye. Yeah. Right? So, and then he's basically like, and he's a Muslim guy too. So he's like, basically what happened, right, is at a certain point, that clot broke up, right? And now you have half of your vision. He's like, come see me tomorrow. We'll talk more about it. Long story short, I talked to him. I'm like, dude, what's the likelihood of my vision coming back? Right? Yeah. And he's like, you know what he said to me? He's like, the same one who gave it to you can bring it back, just like he did. SubhanAllah. Just like he did. Yeah. Right? And I was just like, yeah.
That's like, what's up. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, right?
That's it.
I wasn't, at that moment, that's what I needed to hear. I was like, yeah. Hell yeah.
And Allah spoke through that guy at that moment.
Yeah. And
SubhanAllah.
I one of my friends, told him about this. He's like, oh, well, maybe because it was the force of the blood when you went into sujood, right? Like, he was talking about the science of it, right? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. But I was still worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right? It's still pretty crazy.
It's not because of the gravitational pull on my, like, whatever. It wasn't that. Yeah. It was Allah's divine wisdom. And last thing, dude, on that, I was driving home, right? And I used to make this dua once, right? Mm-hmm. This is when I was like going through the process of just having a difficult time in life, right? And like, have you ever cried out of joy, like with Allah, like thank you, alhamdulillah, right? Like or just out of just relaxation.
Yeah, just sujood al-shukr.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so this one time I made a dua, right? I was like, long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Prior to this incident, I was like, oh Allah, don't let my eyes go dry.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Like, just don't let my eyes go dry.
Yeah.
I like this feeling, right? So when I was on my drive home, fast forward to this incident, I remembered that moment of that dua. I don't know why, you know? And I just started crying, right? And I went like this. I was like, all right, we got some tears. We're golden.
Yeah.
You know?
We're good.
Alhamdulillah, we Gucci,
Yeah.
right? And but I don't know why what did we start talking about?
So
vision?
hold on. So the wisdom of Allah, right? So my grandfather, Allah yarhamu, it's crazy. He's like a very well-known scholar and sheikh and stuff like that. But he's the one that we lived with for 7 years. You know, in his basement, right?
Yeah, he held it down.
So we were very close to him, and he lived in Egypt for the end of his life for a while.
Yeah.
So he got sick. My mom, on her birthday, I remember I had to book her a flight to Egypt. And so she went. So she went over there. He was sick for a couple of weeks. He was in the hospital in Egypt. Things weren't getting better. So we decided to fly him over here.
Okay.
So he was. They got him in this health plane type of thing. And long story short, basically, they landed in Ireland. In a place called Shannon, Ireland.
Okay.
To refuel. As they landed, he passed away. Allah yarhamah.
Wow.
When they landed there. So, there was a whole bunch of stuff, like during the process, during the 2 weeks or whatever that he was in the hospital, like he had told my mom that he had, saw a dream of being on an island and like some like weird thing. Like he's in the middle of Qahira, like in Zamalek, and he was telling her about this thing. So anyway, there was a whole bunch of stuff that happened, but basically he got here. So he passed away, Allah yarhamu. Then we had to do some stuff to get him over here. Then he got here, and then it was like 2 days until we could get the paperwork and everything done. And then my mom was freaking out. We actually took my mom to the hospital because she was on the flight back while he was on the flight here.
Oh.
And they were in different, like she was in a commercial flight and he was in a private flight.
Right.
And so she was under the expectation that when she lands, she's going to go to the hospital. She's going to see him.
Yeah.
So then she lands. She sees our faces.
That's
right.
intense.
I cut off all of her messaging. Right. So she doesn't get the messages in flight.
Right.
Or when she lands that, he passed away. So anyway, she sees our faces. She right away knows what happened. She goes to the hospital. She has panic attack, anxiety, whatever. But so then fast forward 2 days to the ghusl, right?
Washing of the body. So me, my brother, 2 of my cousins were there. And by the way, he had a tube. He was in, what do you call it? Intubation? Yeah.
So he had a tube.
It was intubated.
So my cousin's a doctor, so he knew how to take out the tube and everything when we were doing the ghusl.
Got it.
So I was so worried because my mom was going to see his face after we finished the ghusl. Imam Majid was there. So we were doing the ghusl. We were, washing the body and everything. My cousin took the thing out. And then we did the ghusl. And bro, mind you, he's been in a freezer for like 3 days or whatever. He smiled and his teeth were showing to the point, like as soon as Imam Majid, we finished the ghusl, he smiled and his teeth were showing. Yeah. I can't even describe the smile and how big it was. Yeah. And if you talk to any scientists or anything like that, they'll tell you it's almost like impossible for the muscles in the body and everything to move after a few days of someone being gone.
Right.
But we witnessed that on the thing before my mom saw him. And when she saw him, it gave her the biggest just comfort knowing that she's seeing him and he's smiling, bro. Full smile.
Yeah.
So
Allahu Akbar. That's
Allahu
amazing.
Akbar, man.
It's so amazing.
I mean, it's when you witness something like that, every one of us in the room, including Imam Majid, we're like, wow, subhanallah.
Yeah, there's this like energy that takes over that room, right? This like a vibe.
Yeah, it because it was miraculous. It was just it was unbelievable.
You have no words for it except subhanallah, right?
And you know what I did? I took a picture of it, which was weird. It was just weird.
Yeah.
But I had to do it. I don't think I showed it to anyone other than like my mom and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I start just feeling weird stuff, I look at that and I'm like, that is a miracle that I witnessed in my life.
Alhamdulillah.
So your story reminded me of that. And I guarantee you everyone, has something. Usually people don't see the sign and chalk it up to coincidence or whatever. But knowing the intentionality of your existence, I think allows you to sort of recognize some of these signs.
Alhamdulillah. Last thing I want to ask you, man, what's it like to be a Cowboys fan?
Really? That's the conclusion of this podcast. You're gonna ask me about that? We always make jokes that I told you how we came here when I was really young, and we came in Dulles Airport. So we always thought that Dulles Cowboys was the local team. El Dulles Cowboys.
El Dulles Cowboys.
Yeah. And we're just so loyal that we just stayed Dulles Cowboys.
I like that.
But at least we're not, what is it, the Washington
football team?
The Washington football team. So I'm at least,
Alhamdulillah. No, but on the real though, what would you tell your younger self with the experience that you've had as an Arab American, someone from Iraq, immigrant, who's been through all sorts of dirt, right? You've experienced a lot, hardship, trials, tribulations, and I think we just skimmed the surface.
Yeah.
But you can kind of tell the just by talking to you, I can tell that you've been through the grind, right?
Yeah.
And so someone like yourself, some young Arab kid out there is watching this, right? What'd you tell that kid?
There's so much I would tell that kid. But if I'm talking about my younger self, I would say legit, don't care about others so much. Don't care. Not that sounded wrong. Don't care about what don't care about what others think so much. Recognize your worth and recognize the significance of your existence and recognize the fact that you being here is a miracle. And when you understand the significance of that, your life will be so much more purposeful. And the majority of mistakes, I would say, I always thought I was above peer pressure. They'll tell you, just say no. And
just say
no.
Yeah.
The reality is, I gave in to a lot of peer pressure, whether I knew it or not.
And I think a lot of us do or did.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say I did a lot of things that I really wasn't uncomfortable. I was in situations where I knew that I was not meant, I should not have been in that situation.
Yeah.
In that environment. And just everything about it felt wrong, but I was still there. And it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I would say when you find yourself in a position where you're just uncomfortable with yourself, then have the ability to recognize that you need to get out of that situation.
Allahu Akbar. That's amazing. That's good advice.
Yeah, and then it's okay to make mistakes. Don't we beat ourselves up a lot, but don't get it to the point where you're just despairing in the mercy of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the name, the most merciful, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and how many times he uses the concept and the name of mercy, of him being the most merciful in the Quran. In Surah Maryam, when he is talking about the people that are associating others with him, people committing shirk, he is defining himself as the most merciful. So recognizing that Allah is the most merciful, and no matter what you do or have done, that you shouldn't despair and just like, all right, I've already done this, and that. I might as well just go all in. I'm pot committed, and just continue down a path that you shouldn't continue down. Like, no, recognize I made a mistake, own it, and literally you can change your life within a second. If I right now commit to something in front of you and in front of myself, that changes my life. So know that regardless of what you did before, if you make that commitment to change right now, that counts. Like, you've made that commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You believed it. That's part of tawbah. Yeah. Right?
And oftentimes a lot of people get inside their heads about that, right? It's like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. I'm gonna be looked at as this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I might get a lot of slack or not slack, but like shit for it, right?
Yeah.
And it just builds up that apprehension from making that step.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, dude, like you said, don't think too much about what others may think of you.
Yeah. And something Sheikh Yahya said, Sheikh Yahya wrote us during the first halaqah. Were you there at the first halaqah we did?
No.
Dude, it's so beautiful. So he converted to Islam, but he was saying, the beauty about Islam is that it's never like, if you get into a habitual relationship with doing wrong, as long as it's not habitual in that you ask Allah for forgiveness and mercy that night, then it's not considered habitual. So like, you watch porn every night, right? If that night you go to sleep and right before you go to sleep, you say, Ya Allah, I'm so ashamed. I'm so sorry. I ask for your forgiveness. Please forgive me for doing this thing. Sincerely. Like, I'm really, like, I'm done. I'm done with it. And the next day, shaitan's whispering in your ear, and you go back and you do it. And you go back again that night and you're like, Ya Allah, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. I'm so fallible. Please forgive me. I won't do it again. And that continues to happen. You're still not considered a habitual sinner. Because with that sincerity, Allah's already forgiven you. So the only time it counts is the time you never asked for forgiveness. So that to me, was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That we have that ability, and there is no go between us and God.
Wait, what?
There is no go between. There is no. We don't have to go through a priest or something like that to reach God.
Right.
We can go directly to God.
Yeah.
To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah. And so that's beautiful to me. Because there is no barriers.
Yeah.
Other than yourself.
Yeah. Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
Man.
Really, we're the only ones that get in our way.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, we do. You're right. And at the end of the day, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
Right? It's that tawakkul, it's that trust.
Yeah.
It's his plan.
That's right.
Right. My man, Ali Altalib. Next time, there's going to be a next time, by the way.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I was actually worried. I was like, man, what am I going to talk for an hour?
Yeah. You talk for 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Oh my God. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Nah,
really.
man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, legit. I'm going to enjoy listening to this. Seriously.
I
Barakallah feek, man. Really.
actually don't remember what I'm gonna leave here and then I'm gonna see the video and be like, I actually said that,
Oh
and
my
the world can hear that. But like you said, man, you got to keep it real.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the whole thing. That's the intent. You talk about intentionality.
Yeah.
Right. Behind this whole thing, you know, dude, just got to find people that we can relate to.
Yeah.
Right. And you'd be surprised. Right. Ustad Umair was on the other day and he was like, we just need connectivity.
Yeah.
Insan, right? Like the Arabic language is not just some backwards language.
Yeah.
It's the language that Allah chose to reveal the Quran, which is the last thing, right? Like it's the last book, right? It's the language that He brought forth His best messenger, the last of messengers, right?
Yeah.
And so there's like some gems from that language.
Yeah.
It's not just like a bunch of words mean something,
Yeah.
right? There's an essence to it. So he was just talking about like the word insan,
Yeah.
meaning like, human being. And he's like, there's different schools of thought, but one of the interpretations is it comes from the root word uns, which is to be intimate and have a connection,
SubhanAllah. Yeah.
Connected with Allah, connected with people,
Yeah.
connected with people out there, right? Spouses, relationships, siblings, parents, right? Uncles, whoever.
Yeah.
Like whatever person that you meet that, hates on you, you can connect with that person too,
Yeah.
And so that's the whole idea of this situation that, inshallah, I just hope that, people can watch it and be like, take something away from it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And really it's, not just take something away from it, but not, misconstrue, I guess, anything that's been said. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli.
Yes.
That it's understood in the right way,
Yes.
and not taken differently or taken to a path that drives something wrong or incorrect.
Right.
So,
Right. Appreciate it, brother.
but yeah, man, thanks a lot.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thanks for having me, man.
Yes, sir.
It's been real.
It's been really real. Next time you're going to drop rhymes for 2 straight hours.
I could do it, man. I got.
He's ready to go right now.
I'm ready to go right now. Yeah.
Album release next time. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
All right, man.
All right. So.